In this video, I'm going to be looking at the idea of developing instant recall when it comes to memorizing the notes across your fretboard. That's coming up next. As a guitar teacher, I'm always looking for new ways of presenting ideas to better help my students. And one topic that I've spent a lot of time on is the idea of memorizing the notes on the fretboard. Part of the reason for this is that it was something that I really struggled with quite a bit myself. Over the last few days, I've been looking around online to see what kind of lessons are available to anybody that wants to memorize the notes now. Although I found plenty of videos and lessons trying to teach this, they all seem to have one common problem, namely what they really mean by memorization. Their version of memorization seems to mean that you know the notes, but that it actually still takes you a while to find them across the fretboard or, remember what a particular note's name is. You're expected to count along the frets, use a saying, or some other kind of trick to get you to the answer eventually. Now, I don't know about you, but this really isn't what I imagine when I think about having something memorized. To me, memorization means that you can recall the information that you need in mere seconds.
Have you ever forgotten anything?
No. In fact, I can recite pi to 40,000 places. The last digit is 1.
For example, think about the times tables that you probably had to memorize in school. If I ask you what 5 times 4 is, you should immediately know that it's 20. This is what I mean when I think of memorization. You know the answer instantly. Now, in some of the online lessons and articles, the teacher or author will address this by saying, well, no one really has all the notes memorized. There's just too many. Like you'd have to be some kind of musical genius or savant to memorize them all. Plus, you don't really need to have all the notes memorized anyway. If my 15-year-old self, still struggling to memorize the notes, had heard this, I might have believed it. But fortunately for me, I've already memorized all of the notes across the fretboard. I know that being able to instantly recall note names is possible because I can already do it. I don't expect you to just take my word for it that I have all the notes memorized. So I'm going to be posting another video to provide you with some evidence. I'll be posting it shortly, so if you'd like to see this evidence for yourself, subscribe to my channel and you'll be notified as soon as it's ready. Now, I want to be clear, I don't consider myself to be some kind of musical prodigy or genius or savant.
That was Mozart.
I don't have a photographic memory.
Photographic is a misnomer. I have an eidetic memory.
Okay, I don't have an eidetic memory, nor do I have some kind of special skill or gift that just allows me to know the notes without trying. I'm just a normal person, probably very much like yourself, and memorizing all the notes across my guitar was something that I gained by working on it over time. And this was another common claim that was made by a lot of these online lessons, specifically to do with the amount of time that it would take you to memorize all of the notes. They would state things like, memorize all the notes in a day, or in an hour, or in just 5 minutes. You might learn all of the notes on the fretboard in 5 minutes, but training your mind so that you can instantly recall the note name anywhere across the fretboard is just not going to happen that quickly. It actually took me about 10 years to do it, but to be honest, I didn't really know what I was doing. Since that time, I've refined the process that I teach to my private students and have helped many of them to memorize the notes in a matter of months and in some rare cases, weeks. But they still have to work for it. It doesn't come for free. I want to be clear that this level of memorization where you can instantly recall notes across the fretboard isn't something that every guitar player needs. Although it's an incredibly useful skill to have, if you just want to play your favorite riffs, jam with your friends, or even write basic songs, you don't need to know all the note names. But there are some things where having the note names becomes necessary. Some examples include improvising or soloing over complex chord changes, improving your sight reading abilities, learning and applying music theory to your guitar, as well as opening up the fretboard to musical structures like intervals, scales, arpeggios, and chords. It's also extremely useful to know when you're communicating with other musicians. You and I as guitarists can think about music in terms of frets and strings, but a keyboardist or a saxophone player doesn't. If you want to communicate with them in a meaningful way, you're going to need a universal musical language that everybody understands, and that's where the notes come in. Okay, so you now know that it's possible to develop this very high level of memorization with the note names. But how exactly do you do it? To help you to develop this skill for yourself, I'm going to share with you 6 principles that I try to follow with all of my private students as I help them to memorize the notes. Now, through the course of learning these 6 principles, you'll also get a number of exercises that you can use on a regular basis to help you get the notes down. Principle number 1 is to focus on exposure and not on memorization itself. Exposure really just means the number of times you had to see, think about, or find particular notes across the fretboard. Have you ever noticed how there's certain information that your mind just seems to hold on to without you even trying? Part of the reason this happens is because of the number of times that you use that information. The more you have to actually think about the notes, the more you send the signal to your mind that holding on to that information is important. So to keep it simple, what you need to do is you need to focus on thinking about the note names on the fretboard as many times as possible. And in fact, it's even more important to focus on just the sheer number of repetitions as opposed to trying to force the memorization and try to cram it into your head and hold on to it as long as possible. Once you get this exposure level high enough, you'll reach a critical mass where all of a sudden your mind just understands that this information is important and it will memorize it for you. Principle number 2 is to practice daily until it's done. Now, unlike certain other skills that we develop on the guitar, once you've memorized the notes to a very, very high level of ability, it's not something that you actually have to keep practicing anymore. Just by playing your guitar and working through different tunes or solos that you know, your mind will actually kind of naturally provide you with the note names and therefore give you enough practice and repetition to keep them fresh. Now, the trade-off for this idea of not having to practice forever is that you have to try to do it every day until the job is done. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to practice for hours and hours at a time. It could be as simple as 3 to 5 minutes. Principle number 3 is to practice the notes from multiple angles. Now, if you look closely at the way the fretboard is laid out, you'll notice that the notes can move in 2 different directions. We have going horizontally, which would be going across the frets, and we have vertically, which would be going across the strings. So in order to handle the horizontal direction, you're going to practice going up and down the frets and identifying the note names. To practice the vertical direction, you're going to actually take a particular fret and practice going up and down the different strings. Now, I also like to add a third exercise into this, which combines both directions together at the same time, horizontal and vertical. I tend to think of this as a diagonal direction, but really we're covering everything at the same time. Now, in order to practice this diagonal direction, what you're going to do is you're going to choose a particular note. So let's say, for instance, you choose a C note, and you're going to go across the entire fretboard and find all of the C notes. Principle number 4 is to make use of Eustress. Now, if you're not familiar with what Eustress is, it's a form of stress, and in fact, it's actually a positive form of stress that produces growth when used properly. An example of Eustress in action would be with, say, like a weightlifter. If they wanted to get bigger or stronger, they have to challenge their body, lifting heavier and heavier weights, which then produces growth. We can apply the same concept when it comes to training our mind. As you practice the notes, you're going to have to challenge yourself to recall the notes more quickly. One of the ways that I do this with my private students is by limiting the amount of time that they have to find particular notes. And as you've probably done with developing technique, a metronome is a great way to do this. A simple way to use the metronome would be to start off at, say, 100 beats per minute, identifying a new note on every 4th beat, so we're following whole notes. And then once that gets easier, pushing the tempo up faster and faster. Principle number 5 is balanced practice. Now, really all this means is that we want to make sure we don't know one particular part of the fretboard better than another, or we don't want to know a particular string better than another. So you need to make sure that you practice the frets, the strings, and the notes on the fretboard evenly. I'll actually get my private students to keep track of which strings, frets, and notes they've worked on as they memorize the notes. This way they can make sure that they practice them evenly. Principle number 6 is the use of affirmations. Now, we're not talking about these kind of positive, feel-good, vibey kind of things. We're actually using our voice to affirm the information that we're practicing. Really, all this means is that you're going to say the note names out loud as you practice the notes. And this seems like a very simple or stupid thing to do as you practice the notes. Like, why does it even matter? But believe it or not, this is a very powerful part of these 6 principles. And simply by saying the note names out loud, you really reinforce the information in your mind and help to stabilize the memorization of the note names. So now that you know these 6 principles, you can go and start working on developing this high level of memorization for yourself. Now, if you're not really sure how to make use of these principles for yourself or which particular exercises you should be doing to learn the note names, I've actually put together a course that teaches the same concepts that I give to my private students. And in addition to giving you all of the lessons and information you need to work on the notes, it also provides you with a series of training videos and exercises that you can follow along with step by step as you memorize the notes. If you'd like more information about this course, you'll find a link in the description below this video. So hopefully I've helped to dispel the myth that developing this very high level of memorization is only for those that are gifted or naturally talented. Anybody can do it, it's just a question of time and effort. And if you want to develop this skill for yourself, start making use of the 6 principles that I've shown you. I hope you found this video to be useful, and if so, please do like it and share it with others. If you'd like to see more guitar and music related videos just like this, subscribe to my channel and click on the notification bell to get immediate updates. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below and I'll do my best to help you out. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.